Most guitarists try so hard and never really unlock their potential of playing with feel, right? This sort of like elusive feel. It's what we love about our favorite guitar players is we can feel what it is that they're saying the way that they're saying it, right? The way that they're playing it. You can learn all the scale shapes, all the modes, you can learn all the theory, and still your solos sound a little robotic, right? A little flat. I'm going to go through the reasons why that happens and how to fix it. If you don't know, my name is Ryan Gaughan. I've been helping guitar players for over 22 years now. Really bridge the gap between their creative ideas and what they're able to play, becoming fully fretboard fluent. If you would, please hit the subscribe and bell notification to get more videos on how to make your guitar soloing better. Let's jump into feel versus technique. If you're sort of watching some videos about feel, they'll say like, oh, a slide here and there, right? A little bit of a bend, maybe a full bend, you know, a little vibrato. Those are techniques, okay? That's not really feel. What we need to do is boil down the note choice, the phrasing, into a language. Music is a language. The guitar is just the voice that we're singing or speaking that language through. What we do love, again, about our favorite guitar players is they are saying something to us with music through the guitar. That's what we love. And if we're just sort of learning all of these scale shapes and patterns solely as mathematic shapes, it's not going to help us. We need to learn how to use them. So what we want to do is connect to the phrases. If you can connect to the language, you can say it the way that you want, right? If you think about a script, you know, an actor can say it a million different ways. There's not one perfect way to say it, that particular, you know, script or phrase or quote in the script. But because they're connected to it, you can feel what it is that they're saying. It's like listening to somebody in a different language. You can feel what they're saying without knowing the language. You could feel what it is that they're saying because they're connected to it, you know? And if instead you try to say something in a different language that you're not connected to, that's where it sort of sounds boring and robotic. We're trying to add feel over notes that we don't know the meaning of. So let's learn the meaning of these notes. And we're just going to do the minor pentatonic. Okay, I'm going to do it here in B. B minor pentatonic. And we have our 1, our flat 3, our 4, 5, and our flat 7. Then the scale starts over again. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Now, I've gone over this sort of idea of phrasing, right? And building tension. We need an emotional arc. We need an emotional response. Just like a picture, a movie, a guitar solo, a song. We don't care about the technique. We care about how it makes us feel. It's what we love, again, about our favorite guitar players. And that's what we want to be able to deliver. The problem is, if we're not connected to what we're playing and we're not feeling it, nobody that's listening to us is going to connect to it. And that's sort of the problem where we get locked into a very robotic sort of style of playing is because we're not connected to it. So this is going to be phase 1. Like I said, I've done the phrasing videos before, but I want to go a little bit more in depth with them, okay? If I have my minor pentatonic, let's just take one section of it, the bottom 2 strings. That's 7-10, 7-10, right? And the spelling, and this is very important, of that minor pentatonic is 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3. Now that 1 is always going to bring the emotion down. We're going to be settled. We're sort of like in a nice resolved place. And then the 2 notes on either side of that root note, the flat 7 before the root note and or the 1 and root note kind of go back are synonymous. And then the flat 3, the note after the 1, the root note, is going to give us like this close but not close enough feel, right? We're going to, we want some tension there. Or I'm sorry, no, we want the resolve because that builds tension. This is the emotional arc. So we're going to do something very simple. We're going to play a lick. All right, one that I've done a million times before. It's just going up that scale. 7-10, 7-10, that's my flat 3. It builds tension. So if I have tension, and then just simply pick a lick that ends on the root note, and that tension is resolved. And we're just going to go up and down with that. But I want you to really connect with it. I want you to see if you can feel that tension and that resolve. I'm going to put this backing track on here. Feel that tension? Feel the resolve? All right, I'm going to do the same thing. Try to really chime into that tension. All right, I'm going to do a different tension now, ending on the flat 7. That is going to be not just listening to the examples that I was giving, but that is going to be the exercise. Putting a backing track on and playing any lick that ends on a flat 3 or a flat 7, and then another one. And I want you to hear that tension and that resolve. That is going to be the most important first step, because now we are emotionally connecting to what it is that we're playing. And then eventually we can start adding all of the really cool things that make it even better, right? And say it the way that we want, but we first need to connect to it. Trying that over and over and over, over and over and over, right? Now, there's a really cool middle ground, okay? And that's this, that I want you to try. If I have my B minor and I'm playing a tension, right? I'm playing a resolve. Nice. There's a sweet middle ground, and that's licks that end on a 5 or a 4. Okay. The other 2 notes in the minor pentatonic. 1, or the root note, is my resolve. Flat 3 or flat 7 on either side of that root note is going to be my tension. A 4 and 5 is going to play a really crucial middle ground. All right. This is where we get into a little bit more storytelling. Is if I drive tension up, all right, cool. If I end a lick on that 5, right, the 7th fret of the B string, I'm still tense. I'm not annoyingly pushing that tension even further with another tension note, but I am still tense. I haven't resolved yet. It's almost like, if we're talking about call and response, it's almost like asking a question and then sort of saying why you're asking it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, is this the right room to be in? And that's your call. You know? And then it's like, oh, I'm looking for room 231. Okay, that's not more tension, right? That's not another question. You're explaining the first question. So you can have that tension and then something that ends on a 5, and then hear that out. Hear that it's still, now we're still in tension ground until we resolve it. Okay? That's the important thing. So now you could try that. Tension, a lick that ends on a 5 or a 4, and then resolve. And see if you can really hear that out. Start this over again. So here we go. Tension. Explanation, landing on a 5, and then my resolve. Playing a lot of middle ground there, right? I'll do the same thing again. Tension, my middle ground, and then my resolve. That's all I'm doing. Okay? Really great examples. If you listen to those, try to connect with them. It's a little bit more difficult to hear the middle ground, but you want to be able to drum up that feeling, right? And then it goes the other way. I'm going to give you the sort of like a fourth method. It does not, for right now, it does not matter. We're focusing on the last note, okay? We're focusing on the last note of each phrase. That's the most important one. So don't worry about any sort of repetition or motif building. That can come later. I want you to just emotionally attach to what it is that you're saying. So here's the last part of it, okay, that I'm going to throw out at you. It's going to be tension, flat 7, middle ground, and then my resolve. Now another middle ground. Now another tension. Another middle ground. A resolve. Now I'm all the way down here. And then another middle ground. We can hear how all of this is playing off of each other, right? So wherever our tension, for tension, and then we do a middle ground, we're still staying in tension land, right? We're just, like I said, not annoyingly pushing the tension. If we just keep drilling, we really want, it's just like, it's too much, right? We're sort of getting flooded, almost like flooded with questions, right? Never getting a chance to breathe and resolve. And then the other mistake that we often do first, because this root note really feels settled for us, like we can really hear that, is doing something that's a little bit more like this, which is constantly giving the resolve away. It's like, okay, twice is kind of a lot. Now it almost doesn't mean the same thing. I gotta go somewhere else now. I really, after doing those 4 licks, I have to go somewhere else. You know, it's just too much down here. And that's why that tension is really great. At that point, if I'm doing too much tension, a middle ground's not gonna cut it. We gotta release it and go to resolve. If I'm doing too much resolve, like that example, a middle ground is not gonna do it. I have to go back up to tension. And then you get to play off of tension. Middle ground still keeps the tension. It's just not as annoying. Resolve, middle ground, the lick that ends in a 4 or a 5 we're gonna stay resolved, but we're not like tiring out the root note. You know what I mean? And we could sort of play, and then you could play with all of the emotion in between. Do that over and over. We have our minor pentatonic. It's the easiest one to feel. Okay, that's why this is the most important one, and really trying to feel that tension and really trying to feel the response. Now, if I have up here A major, I haven't listened to this one yet, but this is A major. Right, so just to kind of get used to that tonal center, we have the same idea. The problem is, think about minor and think about how it makes you feel. Sad, right? So my emotional sadness, my spark, my tension is a lot more. And same with them bringing it down. If I were to like lyrically think about this, it's like heartbreak, loss, you know, those kind of emotions. But if I have something happy, like a happy movie, you know, the storyline, the tension is not as tense. So naturally, if we're doing something in major, we're not going to be able to drive the tension so high because it doesn't really allow us to, you know? So now, if I were to switch completely over and say, okay, I'm going to try this with major, right? So it's going to be the same thing. My 1 is my resolve, right? My other tones, my 3 has got a lot of color to it, depending on what's happening in the harmonic landscape, in the progression. But for right now, we're just going to focus as a major tonal center. My 5 has another structural sound, just like that's why we have power chords, which are my root note and my 5th, because the 5th note is also very safe. It's not a resolve. It's certainly not a tension, but it is very safe. And that's the same when we're using a minor pentatonic. Now the other notes, right? If I play a 7, it really wants to push that resolve, right? That 2 wants to bring it down. It's the same idea. We're close to the root note. 7 is right next to the root note. 2 is a whole step away. Close, but not close enough. But now we're not driving the same kind of minor tension that we're doing before. So we need to attach emotionally to this a little bit more, right? So if I safe, right? I want safety again, right? I'll do it with a 7. Root note, I'm safe. Safe again, right? So that's the easiest way to do it, is just feeling each one of those notes. The 2 and the 7, just like I played, primarily. How the 2 and the 7, if you're holding that note, reacts to when you get back to the root note, and trying to feel that relief. And then start integrating some of the other notes. If I play this, you're going to notice it doesn't sound tense. It doesn't sound fully settled, but settled, root note. Right, so we're playing around with some of the other notes and like some of the other tones, and all we're doing is trying to emotionally connect to them. This is your pathway to feel. Okay, once you can do that, now we can start adding techniques, bends, slides, vibratos, whatever it is, playing behind the beat, playing ahead of the beat, doing a little, right, playing with what I would even call like whispering, versus getting louder, staccato. God, I keep missing. Right, those staccato notes are going to mean something, just like emphasis while you're talking, okay? And you're not going to be able to just add those. If you're just throwing those out there, you're guessing. We want to take the guesswork away. You know what you're saying, so you know how to say it. The best part, too, is we're not actually speaking a language, words. So your choice of what to add when is totally up to you. We just want to make sure it's intentional. And it will sound intentional if you know what you're saying. It's the perfect method. Now, we do that with minor, right? With minor pentatonic. We do that with the major scale, the major pentatonic. Now we have to start getting into, okay, but if the chord changes are different now, how does a 4 interact not just in major, but over whatever chord it is in major? That changes. Now we're talking about chord tones for each specific chord, not just a note in the entire tonal center, the entire scale, but how it interacts with each one of the chords that is being played. Same with minor. Now we're moving into mixolydian. Mixolydian's a little bit different. All the notes are going to interact the same as major, but we have a flat 7 instead of a natural 7. That's going to give a much different sound. How is that going to interact over my 1 chord? Right? That flat 7 over that 1 is going to be very different. How does it interact over the other chords of the progression? Right, we take this on into Dorian, we take this on into, Phrygian, all of the other modes. How we're playing rhythmically is going to affect this. How we're playing with our volume, how we're playing ahead of the beat, behind the beat, right? Adding intensity by playing slightly ahead of the beat, right? Pulling the intensity back by playing behind the beat, right? Volume, the whole deal. So it's just a really great place to start, because you need to emotionally attach to what it is that you're playing before you can decide how you want to say it. Now, if you do find yourself stuck in that boring, robotic sort of guitar solo plateau that we all get into, right? And this is the friction between what it is that we're hearing and what it is that we're able to play. We want to close that friction. I do have a free training below. You can check that out. I go a little bit more in depth into some of these topics. And if you're really ready to join our Fretboard Fluency Mentorship Program, there is also a link for a free consultation call. We can lay out a step-by-step plan and really see the best way to get you from where you are to what your goals are. Thank you very much for staying till the end. Hit subscribe, hit like, shout a little comment out at me, and I will see you in the next video.